Swamin iti namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine. Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Reading from Canto 2, Chapter 5, text number 10. 2, 5, 10. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nanratam Tavatachchapi Yatamam Prabhavishipo Avigyaya Param Mata Etavatvam Yato Hime Nanritam Tavatachchapi Yatamam Pravavishitpo Avigyaya Param Mata Etavadvam Yato Hime. Whatever you have spoken about me is not false, because unless and until one is aware of the personality of Godhead, who is the ultimate truth beyond me, one is sure to be illusioned by observing my powerful activities. So the context is same as yesterday evening. Question. Narada is discussing with Brahma about creation. There are different sections of the Bhagavatam where creation is described. This is one of them. Canto 2, Chapter 5. Narada is addressing Lord Brahma as the personality of Godhead. And Brahma is responding, saying, it's not a surprise that you're addressing me that way, because if you don't know the personality of Godhead, you'll see my wonderful activities and you'll think, oh, he's the Supreme. Purport, long purport, more than 2 pages. The frog in the well, unquote, logic illustrates that a frog residing in the atmosphere and boundary of a well cannot imagine the length and breadth of the gigantic ocean. Such a frog, when informed of the gigantic length and breadth of the ocean, first of all, does not believe that there is such an ocean. And if someone assures him that factually there is such a thing, the frog then begins to measure it by imagination, by means of pumping its belly as far as possible, with the result that the tiny abdomen of the frog bursts and the poor frog dies without any experience of the actual ocean. Similarly, the material scientists also want to challenge the inconceivable potency of the Lord by measuring him with their frog-like brains and their scientific achievements. But at the end, they simply die unsuccessfully, like the frog. Paragraph. Sometimes a materially powerful man is accepted as God or the incarnation of God without any knowledge of the factual God. Such a material assessment may be gradually extended, and the attempt may reach to the highest limit of Brahmaji, who is the topmost living being within the universe and has a duration of life unimaginable to the material scientist. As we get information from the most authentic book of knowledge, the Bhagavad Gita 8.6.17, Brahmaji's one day and night is calculated to be some hundreds and thousands of years on our planet. This long duration of life may not be believed by the, quote, frog in the well, but persons who have a realization of the truths in the Bhagavad Gita accept the existence of a great personality who creates the variegatedness of the complete universe. It is understood from the revealed scriptures that the Brahmaji of this universe is younger than all the other Brahmas in charge of the many, many universes beyond this. But none of them can be equal to the personality of Godhead. Paragraph. Narada Ji is one of the liberated souls, and after his liberation, he was known as Narada. Semicolon. Otherwise, before his liberation, he was simply a son of a maidservant. The questions may be asked. Why Narada Ji was not aware of the Supreme Lord, and why he misconceived Brahmaji to be the Supreme Lord, although factually he was not. A liberated soul is never bewildered by such a mistaken idea. So why did Narada Ji ask all those questions, just like an ordinary man with a poor fund of knowledge? There was such bewilderment in Arjuna also, although he is eternally the associate of the Lord. Eternally the associate of the Lord. Such bewilderment in Arjuna or in Narada takes place by the will of the Lord, so that other non-liberated persons may realize the real truth and knowledge of the Lord. The doubt arising in the mind of Narada about Brahmaji's becoming all-powerful is a lesson for the frogs in the well, that they may not be bewildered by misconceiving the identity of the personality of Godhead. Parentheses, even by comparison to a personality like Brahma. So what to speak of ordinary men who falsely post themselves as God or an incarnation of God? The Supreme Lord is always the Supreme. And as we have tried to establish many times in these purports, no living being, even up to the standard of Brahma, can claim to be one with the Lord. One should not be misled when people worship a great man as God after his death as a matter of hero worship. There were many kings, like Lord Ramachandra, the king of Ayodhya, but none of them are mentioned as God in the revealed scriptures. To be a good king is not necessarily the qualification for being Lord Rama, but to be a great personality like Krishna is the qualification for being the personality of Godhead. If we scrutinize the characters who took part in the Battle of Kurukshetra, we may find that Maharaj Yudhisthira was no less pious king than Lord Ramachandra. And by character study of Maharaj Yudhisthira, was a better moralist than Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna asked Maharaj Yudhisthira to lie, but Maharaj Yudhisthira protested. But that does not mean that Maharaj Yudhisthira could be equal to Lord Ramachandra or Lord Krishna. The great authorities have estimated that Maharaj Yudhisthira to be a pious man, but they have accepted Lord Rama or Krishna as the personality of Godhead. The Lord is therefore a different identity in all circumstances and no idea of anthropomorphism can be applied to him. The Lord is always the Lord, and a common living being can never be equal to him. End of purport. So from our discussion yesterday, there was a question. How can Narada make this mistake of thinking that Lord Brahma is the Supreme Personality of Godhead when, in fact, he knows better, or he's a liberated soul? So how can he not know better? And the answer is, he was induced to that kind of apparently covered consciousness, like Arjuna was induced by the apparently covered consciousness to not understand Krishna and ask so many questions about Krishna and reach the conclusion that he reached, etc. So the general context is the process of creation. And Brahma is going to be saying in this section, he can only create when the several things are in place, and then he can create. 1, ingredients. 2, a plan. 3, the power. Leave any one of those 3 out and he can't. So he had to wait until the ingredients, the power was there, the plan was there, and what he does to get the plan is very interesting procedure. He went to the blueprint before building the universe. The blueprint of the universe is the universal form. He meditates every morning on the universal form, and then he rebuilds the universe according to the blueprint, the universal form. It's a temporary form. It's a nice topic. What is the universal form anyways? It's one of Krishna's forms, and therefore it's not like non-factual or grossly illusion. It's not like Maya, but it's not like reality either. Not absolute reality. It's because it's a temporary form. Temporary, kind of like now you see it, now you don't. Temporary. But it's the eternal form because it's a form of the Lord. But manifest or revealed as is needed. And there's multiple. I heard a very nice recording of a lecture by Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj, who's a very learned devotee, going through his study of the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and the different renderings of what the universal form is. In short, the description is different. Does that mean there's multiple universal forms, and therefore the description is different? Or does it mean there are different purposes and different perspectives, and according to the purpose and perspective, the description is what the description is, but it's the same universal form? And that's his conclusion is the latter. But as for example, the description of what is revealed to Arjuna and what is revealed in Canto 2, Chapter 1, very different. The description is very different. Very different. But it's the same universal form. And there isn't a detailed description of what Lord Brahma meditates upon every morning so he can rebuild the universe. But it does mention explicitly he meditates on the universal form. That's like his sadhana. We get up and do our sadhana. He gets up and does his sadhana. Part of his sadhana is to prepare himself for the work that he has to do that day, build the universe. It's not like he doesn't know what the universe is, but it's part of his sadhana. And he builds the universe according to the plan. The main point of the verse, and then similarly the purport, is that someone may think, just like someone may think the demigods, or someone may think that Lord Brahma is the supreme. And some persons think like that about the demigods, or that the pantheism, there's many gods, or the God that they worship is God. And they're people, there are worshipers like that. And that's incomplete, or avidi purvakam, according to the Bhagavad Gita teaching. There's nothing wrong. It's just incomplete. So how to help those that have incomplete understanding get a complete understanding? It's sometimes difficult. You may have experienced. Somebody has faith in X, and you explain your Bhagavad Gita, and they say faith is X, and faith is X, and faith is X because X is true. That's why I have faith in it, and they don't want to move, and therefore they don't move. They don't want to know the absolute truth. They have faith that they know what the absolute truth is, so end of story. And it doesn't matter. It can be a worshiper of this deva or that devi, or the impersonal, or something or something. And it's not that the something or something is false. It's just not complete. Where does the demigod that does X get his power to do X from? And there's one personality, Krishna, that doesn't derive power to do anything from anyone. Matak parataram nanyat. There isn't one above him. Or asamurva. There is no one equal, there's no one greater than. And you can't say that about anyone other than Krishna. You can't say that about anyone, even the avatar forms of the Lord. They can say they're sama, but you can't say there's no one urdhva. Sama to a degree, but not sama incomplete. That's a nice understanding that those who are followers of the Bhagavatam can understand. But there are lots of people that aren't followers of the Bhagavatam. They have their understanding that has their particular set of faith, and they're very content with that. And it goes on. Having faith in something that's Vedic, good. Having that kind of faith that doesn't accept the Bhagavatam, or doesn't accept the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, doesn't accept Krishna's words, not good. One devotee teacher was saying, while Lord Buddha is an incarnation of Krishna, if one can respect Lord Buddha as an incarnation of Krishna, but the teachings of Buddha are not the teachings of Krishna. He rejects the Vedas, so one who rejects the Vedas, there's a Vedic term for such a person. There's different Vedic terms for such a person. And those who adhere to that, we reject that conviction or faith. So there's strong ways, and there's gentle ways, and there are in-between ways of communicating. And in case of Narada, he's not stuck. In the case of some people, they're stuck. And getting people that are stuck to get unstuck when they don't want to be unstuck is arduous. The message of the Bhagavatam is, as we've been hearing the message of the Bhagavatam can get one who is stuck become unstuck. It may take a while, that's okay, because if their faith is in something else and they're hearing the Bhagavatam, they're going to be scrutinizing what they're hearing in the Bhagavatam if they're paying attention to it. It's like some things are going to go in and some things are going to bounce. Nonetheless, by hearing, even the faithless person or the atheist person, by hearing the Bhagavatam, can become purified. That's the power of the Bhagavatam. Now, in between, the faithless person may make some offense, and that's a big problem. So we're on the one hand, we're enjoined to be discriminating, and on the other hand, we're enjoined to be liberal. And Srila Prabhupada has constructed his Bhaktivedanta purports in such a way that even the adversarial persons can have the opportunity to become persuaded by the purity of the message and the reasonableness, and as Prabhupada would say again and again, the science. And if someone has an objection, let them express the objection and then respond to the objection. The Purva Paksha procedure in Vedic teachings is standard. The opponent may say, blah, blah, blah. And to that, there's a response, or there's multiple responses. And our acharyas are very gifted, like empowered, to take the Purva Paksha folks, hear what they say, and address what they say. Then the Purva Paksha folks may not agree. They may say, yeah, but, and then to that, yeah, but, and then to that, yeah, but. But at least from the perspective of a devotee, we should be prepared, or make ourselves prepared, to answer the Purva Paksha folks when they say, wait a minute, XYZ. And if we give an answer to their XYZ, it doesn't mean they're going to accept it. We shouldn't be disturbed or discouraged if they don't accept it because they're stuck. But at least to a neutral person or a thoughtful person that's hearing this discussion, or the person themselves, the response may be, let me think about it, or that makes sense. Let me consider this. That's when you have somebody that's honest, not just stuck. So back to the text. Narad is asking the right person. Narad is father, and his spiritual master and preceptor is Lord Brahma, and he's asking Lord Brahma very reasonable questions. In part, going over it again, inspired by Super Soul within to ask questions that he should have the answers to, or does have the answers to, but seems to have forgotten what he already knows. Like he's one of us. We forgot what we already know. Forgetful of our eternal relationship with Krishna. I'm just going to read the verse again, and then we'll see if there's discussion. Whatever you have spoken about me is not false, because unless and until one is aware of the personality of Godhead, who is the ultimate truth beyond me, one is sure to be illusioned by observing my powerful activities. Prabhupada pokes fun at, somebody that does some magic. Oh, he's God. without naming names or circumstances, someone that can do something mystical. An ordinary person might think, wow, maybe they're God. And when God does beyond mystical, they don't give credit to the unlimited potency of the personality of Godhead. It's the way of this world, the world of darkness. But the personality of Godhead has unlimited powers, unlimited, inconceivable and unlimited powers. Achintya Shakti. And there's nobody else like that. He doesn't derive those powers from someone else. And everyone derives their powers from someone else. It's really simple. But to be deluded by the illusory energy is quite common. Sammohita jiva. Let's see if there's some discussion. Yes. Keep going. He'll just.
I'm thinking of, it's one thing to think of Brahma as God, but you mentioned Lord Buddha, who is
He is.
Incarnation. But then one who believes in Lord Buddha and his teachings.
They're an atheist.
So how do we say that they are atheists?
Because of his teachings. By definition, what's an atheist? By definition, what's a theist? One who accepts the Vedas. And when it doesn't accept the Vedas, he's an atheist. So Lord Buddha was an atheist, and followers of Buddha are atheists. And it's true, they don't accept the supremacy. He's Bhagavan, and he's teaching atheism. Trash the Vedas. He did for a reason, and etc. But it's an atheistic teaching. The one who follows an atheistic teaching is an atheist. He took the doctrine of atheism, and so did Shankaracharya. Although he accepted the Vedas as a twisted Buddha-like, Buddhism-like teaching. You know this one. So it's a teaching of atheism while accepting the Vedas. But in principle, non-acceptance of the Vedas, because Lord Shiva isn't Bhagavan. Buddha is. Does that address your question? You have a doubt?
Yes, it does address. Only thing is that it's an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is giving this message to mislead them.
So we honor him, but we don't honor the teaching. Say it a little bit further. There are parts of his teaching that we do. But the essence of the teaching is atheism. Two main things. Life of goodness, mindfulness. We teach, we don't use that same term, but he or followers of him use that term because it's part of his teaching. You've heard this, right? Kshanik Vijnanavad. The doctrine, the Vada, that all there is kshanik. Consciousness is momentary. So meditate on being in the moment. And we do, our teaching is the same regarding the holy name and any other activity of devotional service. Be present, be fully present, without distraction. However, the sadhya and the sadhana, the goal is to connect with Krishna, to connect with the Supreme Person. That's not the teaching of, therefore it's atheism. It's purposeful. It wasn't, he didn't like mess up. It was purposeful. You know, to steer persons in the age of Kali away from misuse of the Vedas, violence, misuse of violence. Violence has its place. Bhagavad Gita, violence has its place when necessary, but not indiscriminate. Okay?
Yes. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, next to you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's a follow-up on previous question. So what do those atheists consider Lord Buddha to be?
What do they consider him?
Yeah.
A teacher of truth. He's giving the way of enlightenment. And what's that? What's the enlightenment? Nothingness.
But
No suffering. People should be happy. No suffering. Desirelessness. Absolute desirelessness. Get out your dagger and kill desire. Cut into little pieces and throw it away. No more desire. No more life. Nothingness. He's the giver of enlightenment. The path of enlightenment. You know, they may have different ways of saying, but I'm just giving a characterization of a general sense of how they see him. The path of enlightenment, free from suffering in the material world. And the more you go in the direction of what he taught, the more you become freed from suffering. So happiness is being freed from suffering, negation of the unwanted. And what's on the other side? Nothing. Nothing, because that's reality. Nothingness. He's the giver of the path of enlightenment. And there's different ways of saying, you know, phrases and poetic expressions and symbols, but you know, in pared down, that's the essence. Okay. Next. Anything? Yes.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj, for speaking on this particular verse to help clarify the question that was being asked yesterday about Naraji's seeming position of ignorance of the truth.
Yes. Go ahead.
When I read these series of verses, I'm making a comment. Perhaps you can elaborate. My observation is that Naraji is incredibly observant, and you see this, one sees this in all of his interactions with Vyasadeva, Gari the hunter, etc., etc. And he's very insightful on the thought process of that particular individual.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't view this as a situation of Naraji seeming ignorance in asking these questions, because, correct me, my understanding is that he's observing that Brahmaji is acting as a creator, yet simultaneously he's observing that Brahmaji is engaged in austerities.
Yes. Yes.
And so he's making the 1 + 1 = 2, that you are the seeming creator, yet you're performing austerities, and austerities are generally being done to please a higher
Well,
personality.
some persons don't see like that. I'm interrupting.
Yes.
Some persons see power comes from austerity. There's not a person giving that ability to create. It says power comes from austerity. So do austerity so
Yes.
you get power.
Yes. Yes, that's certainly,
That's atheism.
yes. But thinking, I agree with that observation. That's certainly true. And that Bhagavad Gita elaborates on that extensively. But in these series of verses, I see that he's seeing this scenario, and then he's essentially asking, if you're doing these austerities, then are you acting independently, or is there something that is the source of your empowerment?
Right. It's observance. It's a very nice phrase that you're using.
Yes.
You're getting something from some other place. And I'm confused because I thought you were it.
Right.
But you're doing austerity, so there must be something greater than you. What's going on?
Right. He has this amazing ability to get to the heart of the matter by just the powers of observation, and then to suggest a process of question and answer as a means of elaborating on the qualities of Shri Krishna Bhagavan,
Yes.
just like he did with Vyasadeva.
Yes.
What an amazing, empowered
That
personality.
observance, it can also, another way of saying the same thing is intelligence. To discern. I see something and I'm discerning from what I see or observing. But intelligence is is really the power, not just the power of observing, but intelligence. But where does intelligence come from? Super soul. So he has it. Still, he wants to hear.
Right.
I was going to ask a question for this class. Can any of you think of some other examples where a person already knows and they ask anything? They ask questions anyways, even though they already know. For sake of further information or elucidation or purification or enlivenment or whatever what's behind it, but they already know and they're asking anyways. There's so many examples. So I'm interrupting you again. So have you finished?
You're not interrupting, you're elaborating nicely. When you ask that question, I think of just because we recently observed Govardhan Leela, Shri Krishna Bhagavan asked Nanda Maharaj questions about the purpose of the worship.
Indra Yoga, yeah.
Yes, and why. And Shri Jiva Goswami comments in Gopal Champu, he's kind of portraying himself as a person of very little knowledge. But Acharyas explained that subsequently this is the same person who will explain the Bhagavad Gita and resolve Arjun's doubts. So even Bhagavan sometimes takes that position. Thank you.
There are many such examples. Okay. Anything else? Ladies? Okay. We're done. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.